So welcome to How to Keep a Secret with Azure KeyVault. Um, we'll be talking about, why are we keeping a secret? What's it all about? What are the problems involved with with the secret? The KeyVault itself, how it solves the problems, and try to do a quick demo. We'll try to get this in relatively quickly. Like I say, I could go a little longer if it helps, but um, just to introduce myself, I'm Jim Wilcox. I'm, representing the Granite State, coming down from New Hampshire. Microsoft MVP and developer technologies. I got a couple of really great kids and a book that's out there now. All that fun stuff, but we'll keep that relatively short. So I'm kind of guessing, Kieran, you're probably a C# developer. Is that hopefully true?
Yes, primarily C Sharp, but also have done Java like 3 to 4 years ago for a while. So a bit of both.
Very cool. And I'm hoping probably like web services and stuff like that, because that's kind of where this is like really, this is sort of the target sweet spot for KeyVault and the demo that I've got and all that stuff. You can use KeyVault for other platforms, but but definitely exposing it as a web service or consuming it as a web service is the way to go here. So of course the problem with keeping secrets, you run into it all the time. You get a password to a database or a certificate that allows you to access something, and then of course that becomes a secret that you can't expose to anyone, and you got to protect it. So you protect it, and then you get a password to the thing that you're protecting. So that becomes a secret and becomes problematic, because now you've got a secret to protect your secrets that has to be protected. So this is the kind of stuff that, you run into developing an application that, the trust, you keep on getting this bubbling up password effect that, you've always got to deal with. And there's a really great story with Azure KeyVault around that. There are still issues that you got to deal with in certain environments, but if you're directly in Azure and able to do things like managed identities, for example, it really helps. So what KeyVault is, on the surface of it, it's really just a storage facility, in the cloud. The thing that makes it special, of course, is that it has special features for accessing it, dealing with the managed identity, and also the fact that the content is highly encrypted. Um, you can even get there's basically two tiers of service, but the second tier is actually hardware encrypted. So, even if somebody did manage to figure out which module at the data center your secrets were stored in, they actually wouldn't be able to pry the case open without it scuttling your passwords for you, which actually is a good thing. It's FIPS 140.2, I think, is 140-2, level 2 validated. So those are the higher level key vaults. You can also bring your own keys if you want. So if you want to generate your own keys or have a third-party certifying authority of some sort generate keys for you to encrypt your contents, then that is possible. But KeyVault will do that for you and all that. So that's just an extra layer of security, just making sure that nobody, not even Azure people, can get at your content no matter what. Of course, it's cloud based, so you don't have to worry about it physically sitting on site somewhere in a place that you'd have to protect yourself. And it's also redundantly stored, so in actually there's even some replication across geographic distance to support that. And of course, it's not necessarily the fastest storage around, but the whole idea is, of course, that your application can access this stuff, you know, as it's needed, which is usually to load it up at initialization and cache the information as needed. That's a typical pattern there. So the great part about Azure KeyVault is because it's in the cloud, it's scriptable. You can actually provision it with Azure DevOps and Bicep and PowerScript, PowerShell. All of a sudden popped out of my head, but so you can script it in a number of different ways. The Azure CLI and all that stuff basically enables you to spin up an instance of a Key Vault as needed, and you could even build a Key Vault per environment, or in whatever combination of topology that you need. So it's not like a lot of enterprises that you run into. They have some sort of cryptographic storage facility for secrets like this, and they have a person that you submit a work item ticket for a request ticket to have them spin up a safe for you, and then another ticket to actually store something in that safe for you, and the whole process ends up taking weeks. This, with Azure Key Vault, you can script it, and it is available within minutes. You can populate it as you need, and you're good to go right away. So I already mentioned a little bit about the performance. It's content delivery network for secrets, basically, which sounds kind of funny when you think about it, but also globally redundant. On the surface of it, Key Vault stores 3 primary entities. So it's not like a blob, or a file storage, or a table storage, or anything like that. It's really 3 different base structures, and they all sort of amount to key value pairs. Your keys are for your cryptographic public-private keys and that sort of thing. Your secrets are sort of free form, the name value pair type content that you get. And then you can also store certificates in there, and this is for cases where you have a secret with, excuse me, a certificate with a private key that also needs to be protected for some purpose or another, whether that's SSL, or authentication to another service, or that sort of thing. And it does some really nice things, like you can actually keep your secrets in Key Vault, and say you need to sign something or encrypt or decrypt, you can actually send the content to Azure Key Vault if you want, and it will perform the cryptographic operation on the content for you, so that you don't have to worry about actually propagating the secrets, which is a really, really nice feature. It's not one that I'll admit that I've used a lot myself. The big one that I tend to use is the secrets. And that's a fairly common use case. So there's also additional authorization, the ability to authorize Key Vault for virtual machines for deployment. So you can deploy a virtual machine and encrypt the disk for it. You can also use Resource Manager, the templates, basically setting up these cryptographies and encryptions for content, and all that stuff. So that's a feature that's in there. I'm not going to spend too much time going over this, because I could really dig in on these types of things, but these are different features that you can authorize identities for. So for keys, remember I said there were 3 different entity types that Key Vault supports. For keys, you've got these different types of operations that you can perform for keys. including just getting and deleting and importing and exporting and that sort of thing. But also this supports key management, so you can rotate a key if you need to. Once it gets ready for expiration, you can set up a policy for it and all that. Of course, for authorization for secret management, again, this is much simpler name value pair type stuff. And all of these things have this purge operation that, oh, and I keep meaning to fix this spelling mistake here, but I'll call it out and one of those things. So then the final thing, of course, is the certificate permissions, and you can, manage the certifying authority certificate chain, all that fun stuff. And all of these things, if you notice, have a privileged purge capability, which is basically the software equivalent of purge this key vault in case you think that you've got some kind of compromise. Any questions before I go too much further here? We're getting pretty close to doing the demos and all that.
No questions. This looks great. I think, as you mentioned earlier, the primary use case I've seen used, and I kind of foresee getting used, is the key value pair for secrets. That seems like the most common one.
Yep. So that being said, that's actually exactly where I was gonna go. And let me get my portal going here. Pardon me just a second while I switch over to, my screen sharing here. Oh, I meant to share a different screen because that's too high res. Let me share this one. Okay. Let me know when you got it.
Yeah, I see the portal.
Okay. So basically, what I'm looking at here is the Azure portal, and I'm gonna go ahead and look at key vaults. I've got a couple of them in here. One that I created as a demo for Global Azure Bootcamp relatively recently. But I'm gonna create another one for this meetup tonight. Oops, Dev Boston. Okay, so this is the name of my resource group. I'm going to use the same thing for the key vault name. I'm going to keep it. So this is where you choose whether you want the hardware secured modules or the standard encryption. Standard's fine for the demo purposes here. I always like to go with East US 2. I figure it's the second one, so it must be newer and it's probably faster, but that's, just my little running joke about East US 2. Oops. So while that's creating, whoops, I didn't actually hit the create button there. Sorry. So this is now deploying. Should only take a moment here. So while that's doing that, I'm going to bring up Visual Studio. And I'm going to start looking at the code that I've got here, and this is demo code here. Now, in your app settings.json, if we put a demo secret in your app settings and you goof up and you commit this to Git, and next thing you know, you've got that thing committed to history for all eternity and everyone to see, at that point, you might as well already consider your secret compromised, and you might as well just change it. Change the password or whatever it is that you're storing as a secret. But Visual Studio does have one nice feature that I like to show off here if you haven't discovered it already. So instead of leaving your secrets in your code tree, in your repository folder, there's this nifty little feature in here called Manage User Secrets. That's if you right click on the project itself, you can actually keep a file that you can override values from app settings.json in with a local actual like secret that's not propagated to Git or any other repository or any other system. It's only accessible to you as a user. It's not encrypted, but you know it's better than accidentally committing your secrets to a Git repository. So I'd just like to show that off just to say, you know, hey, as a short-term solution, you can manage your secrets this way with your team. They can throw a password in here, but so I'm going to go ahead and just back this out real quick and run this application. We're going to get to the first breakpoint. And if I step through this line, you can see, you know, this is the compromised password. If it's committed to the code repository. This came from app settings.json. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to go to my app setting, my secrets.json and back that out and run it again. Now we step through this line, we get the value from the local secret. But that's not really good enough yet. And I haven't configured my KeyVault just yet. I'm going to go look at that. That is in this resource group. There's my KeyVault. And I'm going to copy this URL to it. Now, the one thing that I got to do in here, whoops, in my, actually I have it in my development app settings, but I'm going to paste that right here. And we'll continue through this demo here. So this is actually going to try to hit that vault. And it should fail because I haven't actually added a secret to it. So secret with that demo secret was not found. So I'm just going to go in there real quick and we're going to add a secret. Oops, demo secret. Oh, that's interesting. So this is because I've done enough done enough versions that it's auto completing for me. I'm not going to knock it. I'm going to let it happen. And now I've got my secret. We can go in here. This is versioned. So if we actually want a specific version of this secret, we can get it by this URL. But generally speaking, you want whatever's current. So I'm going to run this again here. And we'll get our one secret. Now this does take a second, especially the first time I've noticed. And this is the actual secret value here. This is what was in the autocomplete. It's just shh. So that's good to see, you know, basically right off the bat with very little setup before, you know, getting into any of the other boilerplate ASP.NET stuff. You'd probably recognize the boilerplate ASP.NET stuff down here. So before we've even gotten to that, we've got our secret from KeyVault, so we could continue initializing the rest of our program.json. But what if we want to include these secrets in our configuration? So right now, again, if you remember right, the secret value is still this local secret. I'm going to take this demo one step further, and I'm going to copy and paste this down here. Okay, so I'm going to now step through or step into. Oh, it's complaining. Apologies, I got to reset that one more time here. Because I made a change that I went off script, sorry. Okay. So now we're back to where we were. This is the secret from KeyVault. The secret that's in the app settings.json is, this is a local secret still. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay the secret from KeyVault into the configuration. And that is a relatively simple set of operations. Actually, really, when it comes down to it, it's just setting up the options themselves from configuration. And then you just call builder.configuration.add Azure KeyVault. And this is the URL right here. We can see that this is the URL to the KeyVault that we just created. And I'm going to continue through here. And you can see that having done that, now instead of the demo secret that's in my secrets.json, the value that I get back when I ask for that same configuration key is the one that was in the KeyVault. And so it has overwritten the original secret, and I now have the secret from the KeyVault. And at this point, you can continue configuring the rest of your application, just run through the rest of the classic boilerplate configuration stuff, and you're good to go. And what I usually like to do here is just to show how far this goes. This is just the real basic, weather forecast demo here. And you can see that I'm hitting the breakpoint for the get operation on that. And let me go back to Swagger real quick so you can see this is just the little boilerplate weather forecast result that, comes back up here. But I'm going to go ahead and add through dependency injection. I'm going to get the configuration. I'm going to hold on to that. Now, when I get back to this method again, I'm going to pull the demo secret out of configuration and expose it to the world here. But so let's F5 through these and get back to. So you can see that you definitely want to do this just once because the actual initial operation takes a couple of seconds. So now if I run this, you can see that configuration is fully integrated into the configuration. You can see that it's passed through all the way from Azure KeyVault into the results of this web API call. Not that you'd ever want to, expose your secrets that way, but just to show that it's actually in the configuration and you can grab that value and use it in whatever nefarious purpose that you need to. So, any questions at this point?
No, this is fantastic. I had one question there. When you created that config, the builder options and wrote the secret from Azure onto your local, would that then actually save it to the file system, or is that just happening in memory? And then it'll show up as a git commit option for you.
So I'm sorry. So you're talking about the secrets.json, this one?
Yeah. When you made that, you read the secret from Azure, and in memory you created the builder, right? I thought you were writing it to your local secrets.json file. Yeah, in here.
So this is written locally to my local disk. This is just a little utility to help ease the pain if you don't have a KeyVault. And that's a really handy thing to know about. But that's also if you don't have a KeyVault, the stuff that's in KeyVault is not stored anywhere on my disk. The reason that I'm able to access it in this application with just the URL is because this application is running as my identity, and my identity has access to that KeyVault because I created it. Now, in the real world, if you wanted to create an application you could give an application what they call an Azure managed identity. So it would run in Azure, and that application would have a managed identity. You give that managed identity permission to this key vault, and voila, you no longer actually have a secret that you can even manage to get into your key vault from that application, and it doesn't need to know what it is. The application itself will just have access the same way I did running in Visual Studio locally. So
Nice.
it abstracts away the need for, storing another secret to get your secrets. So
It's cool design.
yeah. I think it's a really, killer feature. Any other questions or anything else you want to take a little closer look at, or?
No, this looks great. I guess one maybe a real life use case if you have the application identity under Azure that's been set to the key vault, and you wanted to test it on your local, would you then go down the route that you just demoed, temporarily set your dev identity to the application, to the vault, and then access it?
Yes. Yeah, you would have to jump through the same sort of classic hoops that you might otherwise have to for securing a secret to your secrets vault. But yes, you can do it without an Azure identity. It's just, at that point you have to have the key to get into it, and that. Let me take a look at the key vault itself. So you can, whoops, no, not this one. You can create a secret to get into this, so that you can authenticate separately. It's just a lot more to it. You know what I mean? So you get
and I
it.
guess this would be the same approach you'd use if you wanted to do like a load testing scenario where it's going to fire it off, whatever X number of times per minute. You'll get the secret to the secret and then configure your load testing application to use that.
Yeah, and that's something to think about too. But yeah, you get that information and cache it and make use of it at that point. So
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Any other questions or?
So just a couple of real life scenarios that I'm seeing coming up in the next couple of months for me.
Yeah. This is really handy. I'm currently working for a client that is using CyberArk, and we've been running through these kinds of problems where we have to have a certificate to get to the CyberArk server, and the certificate has to be secured. And so now we've got to protect the secret so that we can get our secrets. And it's just so much nicer to have these identities that just pass through and manage it for you. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to using this. Sounds like a great option.
Very cool. So actually, at some point, I keep on meaning to put a gist up on GitHub for this, but I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'll do that shortly afterwards. But keep an eye on my my Twitter feed for a link to that. So I'll probably share it with Jason and Olga so that they could post it to the meetup as well. So
Sure.
right. And with that, I guess I'm only a little bit over on time, but I will say thank you for tuning in.
Oh, that's awesome. I definitely noticed they have made it a lot more geared towards, they want you to use the managed identities, not use the big keys anymore.
Yeah.
It's cool. A lot, it's better to set you up to be safe versus set you up by default to be insecure.
Yes. Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the old secure by default mantra that everybody was going for back in the what was it, the Windows Vista days,
Yeah.
USE.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. Have you ever put a private link in front of a KeyVault?
Private link.
Yeah, so in order to, since there's a public endpoint for
Yeah.
the
Oh.
key service, to
Yeah.
put it inside of your VNet, I guess, so that the public is actually not available. Have you ever done that one?
Haven't actually done that, but I could imagine that would make sense to do in certain circumstances. So you could do a few different things there. You could even expose it with APIM or something like that. So
Yeah. That private link and the private endpoint stuff is something I gotta get into more, because that's definitely the next step to wrap it in your VNet versus make it. But it does make the development scenario that you just went through practically impossible unless you're on a VPN, of course.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I will stop the recording here.